Today's video is an interview with Ahmed, who is part of the drivers union in the state of Washington. If you didn't know this, Washington just passed a bill and it was signed into law just the other day, which offers protections for drivers as well as minimum earnings. So this is a great law and it's got a lot of good information, so I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, thank you very much. First, my name is Ahmed Mohammad. I am Uber driver, Uber and Lyft driver, and drivers union field organizer too. Yeah.
Okay, how long have you been driving then?
I started driving 2017 March, and I still drive part-time, so that is what I do.
Okay, awesome. And then are you in Seattle itself or are you outside the area in another area?
Where most of the time we work, it's in Seattle. So we know in Seattle, but I'm outside of Seattle. I am in Federal Way. So it's way south Seattle.
What is the drivers union specifically? Like, what are they doing for outreach for drivers? How are they incorporating the Seattle bill? And then we'll kind of talk about the statewide bill that they're looking at that's very similar. So if you want to explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, drivers union is an organization, advocating in a decade for drivers, organizing the drivers wherever they are, and also giving them any training and giving them like all the sources the drivers need, and evaluating with Team Star Local 117. So Drivers Union is a real organization, always and all the time helping the drivers for different ways.
Obviously, it's got its start in Washington because of the bill that went on in there. Do you just want to give a brief rundown of the Seattle bill for people who may be watching that aren't familiar with what is taking place in Seattle when it comes to this law, when it comes to, having the minimum wage, how to be able to take care of maybe false deactivations or be able to hear your case. So if you want to just give a brief breakdown of the Seattle bill, or I'm sorry, the Seattle law, then we can see what that's all about.
The Seattle, yeah. So the Seattle law was really, and the law helps the drivers for, pay raise and protections or deactivation protections and drivers' compensation like sick pay and all that. So and that we learn a lot, like how important it is to advocate the workers, whatever level they are. And then our drivers union decided again to go in a statewide when we hear a lot of complaint from the drivers that they are saying those who live outside city of Seattle got, like any issue, don't have what Seattle drivers have in Seattle. So, and then that is the time our organizing and moving forward is started. And finally, we are the place we are right now, B 2076, that gives the drivers, what they were looking for, and we still going to just, help the drivers and move forward.
Okay, awesome. Now, is 2076 the same as the Seattle bill, or are there some differences in that?
Almost, like Seattle bill, we learn a lot. We might just, fix something and advocate more and organize and do a lot of, ways the drivers may need, but almost the same. And this bill will give the drivers a lot of rights that they are really happy with it right now.
I'm a driver myself for both Uber and Lyft, and seeing different parts of the country and how they're handling. Like New York City has their own laws when it comes to drivers and how they're operating within the city in the 5 boroughs itself. Seattle has their thing. It looks like it's expanding with 2076. California has AB5, and right now they have Prop 22, which kind of surpassed AB5, but kind of seeing how things are evolving, even on the other side of the pond over in the UK, where they've instilled differences in London-based drivers. So it's obviously changing a lot. And Seattle's, at least from my perception, seems very, very good for drivers because it does set up that minimum wage. And it really looks at, like I said earlier, with those false deactivations or being able to fight deactivations overall. Some of them obviously are just deactivations and are realized that way, but several of them are not. And having something being able to, reach out to have somebody advocate for you as a driver and even have something put in place to have that protection is really good, because you don't want to have somebody giving somebody a ride and then all of a sudden they're not happy with something that's going on and causing some sort of ruckus or problem with your pay, especially if that's something a particular driver relies on more heavily than not. So that is awesome to see, especially when it comes to now looking at a statewide with Washington looking at that 2076. What kind of support does it have? Is it looking like it's going to be easily passed? Is it looking that, you got some challenges coming up, especially with these companies maybe fighting it? What are you seeing on that front? Can you actually say or talk about that?
Yeah, if I 1 minute go back to city of Seattle, how it helps, the drivers, especially for the protection. Since this law went to effect, almost 200 drivers go back to their work through to drivers union when we advocate and help them. And most of the drivers depending to their families. So it means that the drivers are getting fair to, investigate how the case happened, what was the issue, and then the drivers are right now feeling in a way better than before. Because of before, only the company used to decide what this, job will be. So anytime they want to restrict, they just remove him out. The time they want, they hire him and all that. But this law gives the drivers to challenge their rights, to that. And then when I come to this bill to Washington State, it's almost the same. When we look the issues of the drivers for all sides, what this work the drivers need is the time we say, the pay raise is very important to put the food on the table. And then at the same time, the driver to get protection, which is in a very, also important, not to be easy, like the driver to lose, although they are, also invest in the company. So then the other good thing is the driver's benefit and sick pay and and compensation of the drivers. So they are all very important. Is it an easy to move? Everything needs a work, and drivers union organize it. So the unity and organizing and giving a voice for the drivers is what everybody hearing and listening and accepting it. And so far we are in a great position.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Now, you did touch upon some of the benefits. Let's talk about that a little bit when it comes to drivers, because obviously that's the biggest thing when it comes to it is pay rates, especially today with inflation being so high. Gas prices are insane. And unfortunately, it trickles to everything else. So car parts and car maintenance is much higher than it was even this time last year, a year and a half ago. So how are the benefits, the minimum wage, how are the pay coming about? And is there anything also when it comes to with this inflation or high gas prices, is there anything that, let's say in the Seattle bill or even something with Washington, will it have something where they can provide the ability to say, hey, we need to raise rates for drivers in this area or in the state because of the gas prices being so high, because inflation's so high, and kind of try to level up drivers so then it's not coming out of pocket or anything as much as it could be?
This bill and the city of Seattle bill, the gas, what is going on right now, it's really, it's hectic to the drivers and everybody who is in this, because of the drivers has a lot of expenses. So, the bill raise, it's helpful, a lot helping, especially the city of Seattle. Right now, in other side of Washington State, mostly drivers won't like to drive because of the pay raise is very low and they cannot make that much of money. So about what is going on at this moment, it's part of what gives everybody to hear and give attention to help the drivers. That is whoever made this happen. I really want to say thank you very much, and we appreciate everybody who take a part of it. And the things which I'm saying is the city of Seattle pay raise really helps the drivers. It's the highest in the nation, and it's great. And we are expecting soon the entire state to also increase the price and help the drivers. So that is really a great move. So far we achieved.
Okay, now one question I do have is, what was the pay rates prior to this law going into effect, and the pay rates today? How much have they differed, because they are being touted as the highest in the country? So what was it pre this, and then what was it post that, to see so people who are watching can tell how much of a difference that is when it comes to the pay that they actually would be receiving?
If I give it to you one example, Tacoma now, it's in the city of Tacoma. The pay will increase for this law increases by mile over 40%, and by minute almost trebling. By minute. And that is in a very good, increase for only one time to go in that level. So that is what it was. You can then take, you can imagine this bill gives 40%, higher than what it is right now. By minute, almost trebling. So, which is very high. And city of Seattle also gives, it's in a gives in a very high, for example, mile and minute, it's also, increased 40%, and the other one increased over 80% than the way it was. Not even 80%, over also in a trebling, the same it was before, since it started. And a lot of drivers, most of them, they are driving city of Seattle because of it's the only place that right now they can pay their appeals. So that is, the differences.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a huge thing. 40% more, and 80% or so when it comes to even time. That's huge. That's a big number right there. So that's great to see. Is that going to be similar throughout the state of Washington, or are they looking at specific areas that are going to have a little bit higher pay rates versus other areas? Is it based on area, or is it just statewide? It's going to be pretty much all the same.
Statewide is going to be all the same, except city of Seattle. So city of Seattle will be the way it is right now. And then the good thing is always cost of living will just also give an increase all the time and make changes too.
Okay. And is the cost of living increase, is that, quarterly, annually?
Annually. Yep.
Talking about pay is great, but sick pay and paid time off, how has that occurred as a driver? How does that come about? If you could give a little more details on that as well, too.
It's very helpful, especially the COVID time. The temporary sick pay that city of Seattle passed helped thousands of drivers because there was a lot of sickness for their families, for themselves. They would not get any chance. They could not get any chance before to go and, to visit the doctor or take their families to the doctor. So the sick pay gives them and that day to care their family or themselves and not, work ill go to ill, work to ill the time, that day. So this was in a very important. Now, becoming in a permanent and drivers getting, the days they want to help their families and themselves, it's really very important. And that is what this bill gives them.
Yeah, that's great. Now, how has it occurred as a driver? So if I was driving in Washington or Seattle and I started today, how do I actually get up to like paid time off and sick time? Is it occurred by so many hours of driving? Is it averaged out over, the last 2 weeks or so when you're driving, how much that would receive? How is that actually calculated for drivers, and when do they receive that?
The city of Seattle, it's every 30 days, 1 day that you drive the city of Seattle, and gives them a chance like picking up last 90 days for one trip in city of Seattle or drop off in city of Seattle. That was the way, the sick pay right now, we have the temporary one works. So the other one, it might need, the bill is new. It might need to just write in the rules and the way it works and, and on all that. But, if we take like what we learned already, it is really helpful and helps the drivers whenever they work in entire Washington state, they receive any sick days, in their work time.
And then, let's shift it a little bit, because the other main thing of this is the protections for drivers. So how has that helped drivers when it comes to these, false reports or false deactivations, or just being able to fight a deactivation for a particular reason, whether it's a false report or something from these companies? How has that helped drivers, and how does that look? How has that worked so far?
The one that we have right now is the law of City of Seattle passed. And as I said, since July 1st, 2021, Drivers Union, helped through this law, 200 drivers. They go back to their work. And it's still going on. The Drivers Union are trying their best to investigate the cases and make fair to everyone, not only, for one side, for everyone. So the drivers, they have to get a fairly deactivated or go back to their work, freely, not to have, issues and all that. So that is the successes we already, have so far. So, and I believe the city of Seattle is not included like Tacoma. So the drivers live in Tacoma, they needed protection. The drivers live in Columbia, they needed protection. And that is why this was a great example. When we reach and talk to the drivers, gathered their information, there was this issue was a major issue that they were always mentioning because of the way the companies are, deactivating them was unfairly most of the time. That is what they plead. So getting in a room and a place that they can challenge their deactivations and they get it for their right, that is something they're really very proud and they are happy with it. They cannot wait this bill to be effective and then every driver to get access to just, for his right. So this was a good example we learned. It's really great move. And we are expecting when this law went to effect, then a lot of drivers will feel relief and just go very freely to their work, for their work.
Okay, great. And then, a couple more things too, when it comes to this, about how long with the Seattle being the prime example here, since this is where it is currently, about how long, let's say if a driver does get deactivated, how long would it take until the drivers union is able to kind of review their case or even say, hey, this is something where it was an unfair deactivation. Let's work together and advocate for you till maybe they can get back on the road. Has there been a time frame? Is it a month, a couple of months for these 200 drivers that had these successes. If you get deactivated and this is a prime income, then you're kind of without that income for the time being. So about how long has it been so far?
The drivers union, the same day the driver got deactivated, he calls to the office. We take his information. There is one of the staff or rep just follow up the case, just interview the driver, take details and all that, gather all his documents, gather the driving history and all that. And then, going through all the process of the deactivation process that the drivers union should just, follow. Follow. And then when we do all that, and then the lawyers are going to, a challenge after the driver gives, we represent him. We get it all, the issues and all that. So it depends. Sometimes the case can get delay, and sometimes can get faster and get reactivated and go back. But the good thing is this, when finally the driver go back to his platform and get reactivated, the driver will get, back pay. The days being out of work unfairly. So that is what also this law gives the drivers. So no matter what, we challenge, we keep going, and the day this case will, end, the driver should get back pay all, the debt he got it, whether it's in his credit or any other issues that he had, he should get back pay. This is what the law gives them. So to look, it's really fair because of that person right will not neglect it. It's, so this is what the law gives. And so far we are in this position and we still pushing a lot. Have a lot of other cases active going on, and we will not let any driver to, get deactivated unfairly and walk away for no right. This is what our responsibility is. This is what we are standing for. And all the drivers are really proud to hear all that, and they are happy. That is why we are organizing them, and they are listening us, they are behind us, they are working with us because they know we are only one position, including myself. I'm a driver and I need to get, a ride. So this is where we are right now.
Wow, that's great. That's pretty much what I had. Now, if somebody is looking at, trying to contact you or wants more information, maybe about 2076 or anything when it comes to that, where can we point them to let them know where to go?
Oh, yeah. We have a website called www.driversunionwashington.org. So they can go there. And also we have in Facebook, we have so all the social media. So anybody who just use for that link, I give it to you right now, can access and see all our jobs, our success, and where we are at right now and where we are heading to. So all the information are there, so you can get it there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then is there any last things that you wanted to bring about or mention before we end this?
No, I'm just saying thank you very much for your time you are giving us, and giving us this opportunity. Who not aware what drivers union is and what our job is to know it. That is only what I'm saying. But what more, our word finally we say is that when we fight, we win. This is what I'm saying to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for coming on and sharing everything with us. Again, I'll have the links to you in our description, and I'll try to put it in the pinned comment as well, so people who are watching this and interested in knowing more information about the drivers union, about 2076 or anything like that, then they can check that out. So again, just thank you very much again for coming on and sharing your experience and what you're doing and what it's all about.